Okay, in this video, we're going to continue talking about decimals. We're going to focus on dividing decimals and long division. But before we do that, let's talk about rounding decimals. See this decimal right here? Suppose we want to round it to thousandths. Now remember, this is the tenths place, hundredths place, this is the thousandths place. When you round to the thousandths place, you look at the next place over. And if that number is 5 or more, then it kicks this number up. So since the 10,000ths place is a 4, then this just stays as a 5 here. So rounded to thousandths, it would just be 12.365. That's how it works. If you want to round to hundredths, this is the hundredths place. You look one over, since the next digit's a 5 or more, that kicks the 6 up to a 7, so it becomes 12.37, like that. Tenths place, you look, that 3 is in the tenths place, so you would look at the next place over. Since this is 5 or more, it kicks us up to a 4, 12.4. To the ones place, since the tenths is less than 5, it just becomes 12. And to the tens place, since the ones place is less than 5, it just becomes 10. Alright? Anyway, so let's talk about long division. If you wanted to divide 7 divided by 12 using long division, what you have to do is remember to write it as long division. The number on the bottom goes on the outside. So I like to remember bottom out. That's what a student once said in class. Bottom out. The bottom number is on the outside. I like to also keep the decimals lined up here, and I like to put extra zeros here, just so everything's lined up. You can get in trouble otherwise. Anyway, so the question is, how many times, since there's 2 digits here, we look at the first 2 digits here, and we ask ourselves, how many times does 12 go into 70? It goes in 5 times, right? 12 times 5 is 60. Where does the 5 go? It goes above this last digit, the 0, so this becomes a 5. And 12 times 5 is 60, which would become 6.0. When you subtract, you get 10, 1.00, keeping the decimals lined up. 12 doesn't go into 1, doesn't go into 10, but it goes into 100. 12 goes into 100 8 times. 8 times 12 is 96. Where does the 8 go? It goes above this last digit, so put 8 here. 8 times 12 is 96. Keep the decimals lined up, 0.96. When you subtract, you get 0.04. You can throw some extra zeros on if you want. 12 goes into 40 how many times? Well, 3 times, right? 3 times 12 is 36. 0.036. So it's nice to keep the decimals lined up. We can keep on going, but remember it says round to hundredths. So if you want to round this to hundreds, you would just say it's about 0.58. That's your answer. I like to put a squiggly equal sign when you round, that way you know that it's not the exact answer. Anyway, let's do another one. Now, if you want to do something like this, then I'll give you some to practice. When you want to use long division and you get a situation where you have decimals on the bottom, let's use that trick that we learned in the last problem set, where you could actually get rid of the decimal on the bottom if you move the decimal 1 to the right, as long as you do the same thing to the top. Remember, you're actually multiplying top and bottom by 10. So these two fractions are equivalent. And for long division, it might be easier just to write it like this first. Alright, so again, the number on the bottom is on the outside. And so 3 is on the outside, and I like to keep the decimals lined up and put some extra zeros. Okay, so if you look at it like this, 3 doesn't go into 1, but it goes into 14. It goes into 14 4 times. Where does the 4 go? It goes above the last digit you're looking at right there, see? 3 times 4 is 12. Keep the decimals lined up. When you subtract, you get 0.2. Let's throw some extra zeros down. 3 doesn't go into 2, but it goes into 20. How many times? It goes into 20 6 times, right? 3 times 6 is 18. Where does the 6 go? It goes above this last digit. 3 times 6 is 18, 0.18. And when you subtract, you get 0.020. I think it starts to repeat. You see how you get 0.2? Here in this case you get 0.02. 3 goes into 20 6 times. Where does the 6 go? It goes above this last digit, which would be the thousandths place. You can keep on going, but it says round to hundredths. So we're gonna stop here and say it's about 0.47. So that's how you do it. Let's see. So what I'd like to do now, why don't I just give you a couple to try. Why don't you try these two on your own? See if you can use long division on these two. Now on the second one, you're gonna have to move the decimal over before you do that. Okay. Go ahead and hit the pause button. Okay, on this first one, remember bottom out, number on the bottom is on the outside. We ask ourselves, how many times does 5 go into 1? It doesn't. How about 11? It goes in twice. Where does the 2 go? It goes above this last digit, so it goes in the 1's place. There's a 2 there. So anyway, 5 times 2 is 10. Keep your decimals lined up. Throw some extra zeros on if you want. When you subtract, you get 1.300. I probably should have said earlier, if you learned a slightly different way of organizing your work, that's fine. There's several different ways of doing the long division, as long as you keep organized here. 5 doesn't go into 1, it goes into 13 though. How many times? It goes into 13 twice, right? Where does the 2 go? It goes above this last digit, so this becomes 2.2. And when you 5 times 2 is 10, so you get 1.0. Now I think what happens here, I think this goes in evenly. When you subtract, you get 0.300. 5 doesn't go into 3, but it goes into 30. It goes into 36 times, right? Where does the 6 go? It goes right here. So that's your final answer. 2.26. Don't have to round it all. Okay, on this last one, what I would suggest doing first is moving the decimal over. Did you do that on the bottom? Move the bottom over 1, call it a 14, but you got to move the top one over, call it 540. It's also okay, you don't have to do this step, but it's not wrong. You can actually reduce this before you use long division. That might make it easier. 540 equals 2 times 270. 14 is 2 times 7, so if you cancel the 2's, you get this. So I'm going to do that. 270 divided by 7, write it like this. So here we go. 7 doesn't go into 2, it goes into 27 though. How many times? It goes in 3 times. Where does the 3 go? It goes above this last digit. So that 3 is actually in the tens place. So anyway, you get 210 I should say. When you subtract, you get 60 here. Keep your decimals lined up. Let's repeat it now. How many times does 7 go into 6? It doesn't. How about 60? Let's see, 7 times 8 is 56, so 8 would be the answer. Where does the 8 go? It goes above this place right here, so it's 38. 7 times 8 is 56. When you subtract, you get, let's see, I think I get a 4, right? I get 4.00. Got to go a couple more times here. How many times does 7 go into 4? It doesn't. How about 40? 7 goes into 40 5 times, right? 7 times 5 is 35. Where does the 5 go? It goes above this last digit, which is the tens place. 7 times 5 is 35, or 3.5. Subtract, and you get 0.50. 7 doesn't go into 5, it goes into 50 though. How many times does 7 go into 50? 7 times 7, right? 49. Where does the 7 go? It goes above this last digit, which is the hundreds place. You get 0.49. We have to go one more time because you see our answer is either going to be 38.57 or 38.58. Depends on the next place because we're rounding to hundredths. You get 0.010. 7 doesn't go into 1, it goes into 10 though. It goes into 10 once. Where does the 1 go? It goes in the thousands place. I think we can finally stop. We've got 38.571. Round it to hundredths though, it would be 38.57. So you should be able to do some simple long division. And if you have to occasionally move the decimal place over, that's also true. Alrighty, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.